All right, it's 6:30. Call this public safety meeting to order. Roll call has been taken. I'll entertain a motion to approve the public safety agenda.
So
Second.
Motion by Evans, second by Foodie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review and approve minutes from May 26, 2022. Motion to that effect.
Second.
Motion by Evans, second by Foodie to approve the minutes from May 26. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Citizens wishing to be heard? There's no one present. With that, we'll move on to the police chief, monthly report for May.
Well, I apologize, I tried printing off the report and I kept getting an error message, so.
Okay.
But probably the biggest thing, COPS grant was submitted, so now it'll be a wait and see what happens. You know, if they get back to us in 2022, great, but typically the way the federal government works, it could be a year from now before we hear something, but it's been submitted and we'll go from there. This really happened in June, but because we're having our meeting now, we had a drug search warrant on East Oak Grove Street a couple Fridays ago that landed a guy in jail. He at least one felony and a couple misdemeanor charges, maybe more to come. Had the drug task force there that we had about at least 12 officers. If the mayor would have been looking out his window that night, he would have seen us unload on that street, go marching up the street. But so needless to say, for anybody that thinks that we don't have a drug problem, there's a drug problem in Juneau just like any other community, and you know, we've had plenty of drug overdoses in the last couple of years. And like I said, it's here. We're not immune from it just because we're a smaller community.
Right.
So. I think other than that, we've been busy with other stuff. We've been taking our pets out on patrol that get dropped off to us by the kids. So they're enjoying that. They're stuffed animals, not real pets. So the rec department started a program where they could bring their stuffed animal and have go out on patrol with us for a day. So getting good feedback from that, and another tool for community relations. So
Sure.
I guess with that said, we'll move on.
All right, we'll move on to extension of premise application 1850s on July 16, 2022.
So this is something they did in the past year where they want to close off Fair Street between East Oak and Acorn Lane for a bags tournament. When they had it in the past, there wasn't an issue with it.
Yep.
Looks like they're looking from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. So I see no issue with it.
Went fine last year, I think.
Yeah.
So. All right, I'll make the motion to approve the extension of premise application for 1850s on July 16, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Schuster, second by Evans. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next we have creation of a poultry ordinance. I know we had a bunch of people, or a few of them talked last month on this, and what you guys' feelings are on it, but and I think we talked to Lloyd too, we could do like a pilot program also maybe for that? Or do you think?
Well, I think if the council decides to go down that road, probably having a pilot program for at least a year would be a good thing versus trying to get everything in an ordinance that we think we should have, only to find out we missed something.
Missing
And then
stuff,
we
right.
gotta
And to see how many people are interested in it. I mean,
well, right.
there's only one family, it costs quite a bit to change an ordinance, so.
You think there's only one?
I don't know, I'm just saying.
my concern is, I agree with the pilot program, but what do they do if we discontinue and decide not to go with it with their chickens after a year?
Yeah.
They'd have to get rid of them.
Take them to your house? No, I'm just, I mean, they have chickens and then they, get rid of them after a year.
I mean, that's the risk they would have to take, I guess. I mean,
There's an expense housing them too.
Yeah.
And I think they talked
Yeah,
about
if they
that.
build their coop.
Yep,
Yeah,
they
they
gotta
gotta
build a coop
and
and-
whatever, so, yeah.
So,
I think they have to be made aware that if you're gonna implement a pilot program, that these are all risks that they take. You might invest in a coop and a year from now, we get several complaints that say, we're not gonna put up with this. You're just out whatever you got invested in.
I think as part of the pilot program, we could probably limit the number of permits we give out,
True.
and say 3 or 5,
Yep.
as an experiment, because that's what a pilot program is basically. is
Yeah.
mhm.
An experiment. I don't know.
Or
Did
those-
anybody else read through all the ordinances from the other communities?
yeah.
I kinda did, I glanced,
I
It's
mean-
pretty stimulating reading, but.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of things to take into consideration
Right. Setbacks,
Ashley had some good bullet points that she brought up at the meeting,
Right.
Limiting, who knew the difference between a white and black chicken, that
Mhm.
black chickens or brown chickens, whatever, they typically don't fly where white ones do, and
Mhm.
kind of stuff like that. And yeah, setbacks is gonna be a huge thing.
Some of them had different heights, regulated, I think one of them you had to have a cover over the top of the chicken run.
Yeah.
And having permission, written consent from all your surrounding
From your
neighbors
neighbors,
too,
right, yeah.
That's a big,
Well, and when you build a coop too, don't you have to get a permit from the county then too because of the height? Or is,
That wouldn't be tall enough to be
It wouldn't be-
considered,
okay.
right?
No,
I don't
Unless
think
you were
it
gonna
has
go-
to be very tall.
Unless you're gonna go a full story with your coop, but usually,
No,
usually
I
they're
don't
only
think,
like.
even storage sheds though had.
they
to go to the
require
county.
to get a permit from the county,
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, yeah.
but that usually was 1 story and higher.
I don't think so, because
It was
there's,
everything, I thought
Yeah.
typically, people were always upset about that.
Yeah, when I did that garage in the backyard, I had to,
Well, if you're spending $500 on a chicken coop, that's a heck of a risk
Well-
to take to know that you might have to get rid of it, then I guess, so. Cause that'd be the other thing, it'd be underneath the $500 rule for the permit, so.
well, yeah, but it would say who's really enthusiastic about it. I mean, who's.
True. It would weed them out, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, cause yeah, you're certainly gonna wanna have a permit with a fee attached to it, so we as a city aren't, cause if the building inspector gets involved, you're gonna pay him by the hour to go there. That's above and beyond any other work that he does in the city.
Yep.
to
you know.
inspect them, right?
So, cause.
Yeah, the ordinances that I read didn't really, they didn't give very good specifics about the coop itself.
Well, I look at it as it's no different than a dog kennel. I don't think we've ever pulled a permit for a dog kennel unless they're building a shed at the end of it that, deems a garden shed or something like that, so.
No, I guess it would come down to him checking if that's who does it, or maybe somebody from DPW or whoever checks setbacks to make sure that they're in compliance that way.
Yeah.
That's where you get the involvement of
Yeah.
the building inspector or.
I think you can head a lot of the problems off at the pass by having, written permission from your abutting neighbors.
Right.
Cause then at least it's not a big surprise to them, and they might voice their disapproval right away, and might keep the party that wants to raise them, say, well, I guess I can't now.
Sure.
Well, do we just get a list together of things we want to see in the ordinance and do we have a a different meeting for that, or?
Well, I mean, first off, I think you guys need to come to a consensus and then put it in motion if that's what you're gonna move forward. But then I think having, you know, or you're not gonna move forward. And then depending upon how you wanna do this, you can incorporate the help of the citizens that were interested in this.
Yeah, get together and have a meeting.
And have, like I said, I would recommend like a work group, a work
Right.
night, so that you can sit and hammer through the different things and that, because typically when you do it and then come back to the committee meeting and back and forth, you spend a lot of time and really get nowhere.
Right,
So,
every month or whatever, it takes,
Yeah.
it takes a long time otherwise, so I don't know. You guys in favor of chicken ordinance change or
I'd be in favor of a pilot program.
or pilot program? Okay.
Yeah, I would be in
As a-
favor
as
of
a
moving
trial.
forward with it.
For a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, technically, this has gotta go to the planning commission. You wanna put the effort in before, or do you wanna send it to planning commission to either nix it before you guys put your work into, to putting all the detail together?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
You're a smart man. I just thought I'd put that out there, cause you might be able to nix it right away by way of planning commission as well, so.
Well, do you want a motion then to send it to plan commission?
Sure, that's what you wanna do.
Okay.
With your recommendation of a pilot program.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion to, start a pilot program and send it to plan commission
For their approval and
for their approval to move forward.
then if they do approval, we'll work on some workshops, I guess, and get
Right.
the citizens together. Okay,
Okay, I'll second that.
all right. Motion by Foodie, second by Evans to work on a pilot program, send for they are okay, planning commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You got that written down, Dave?
There you go.
Can you repeat it for me?
To watch.
Still writing.
Now, what would the plan commission have to say then?
Well, that's just kinda, you might wanna do a joint workshop with them to streamline, you know, to keep it moving. I mean, Waupon beat this to death for a year and a half before they finally approved it. But, like I said, it might be a case we might be best, to meet together and put everybody's ideas together and it's not back and forth type thing, so.
Let's see if the planning commission has any interest first.
The plan commission would approve the concept, you know, and whatever, so. They're kind of the zoning board, you know, whatever, so.
So you suggest we be there at that meeting, or?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I put that in the motion. Public safety committee is there also, so.
Well, do you want at the first one, or when we get?
I would say, let them kick it around and see what, if we get an approval there.
Through there?
Then you guys can
Then we
work
can
all
work it
together
together.
on it.
Okay. All right, anything else, Dave?
No.
All right, we'll move on to EMS. We got Nathan sitting in for Dan on the monthly report of May.
Okay, you have the report in front of you. We had a total of 48 calls in May of 2022 compared to 26 calls in May of 2021. And then you also have a summary of the hours that members covered as well as actual hours on a call. If anybody's got any questions,
Anybody
I
got a
can
question
try
for
my best to
Nathan?
answer.
All right, question Nate, Nate. Sure you're still looking for members, right?
Yep, our latest member is planning on going to school in fall, so that'll help.
Okay.
Can join, so that'll be a huge help. If we had 2 or 3 others, that would be.
Right, so if anybody's interested in joining EMS, they're looking for members. All right, thanks, Nate. Next up, we got Kurt, Fire Chief, on monthly report for May.
Okay, you have the report in front of you. We had 5 calls in May. Anywhere from mutual aid for a gasoline leak to vehicle accidents. We are also looking for membership. I've got 2 people starting after some physical testing. Physicals have to come back yet, but they'll be starting in July.
Okay, sure.
The auto aid starts in the next week or 2, probably July. We'll call it July also, July 1st.
Okay.
They'll have everything put in the
Horicon.
computer. Horicon will be doing auto accidents with injury and structure fires. So,
Okay.
false alarm calls, things like that, smoke alarm calls. Unless there's fire showing, they won't be coming. And that'll be a call off if we have enough people type of thing, and the same way the other way, because we'll go to their calls. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, anything for Kurt? All right, thanks, Kurt. Next, Dave, with Emergency Government Director, monthly report.
Okay. We've actually fared quite well as a city for the storms that we've had rolling through, so that's
Yeah.
a darn good thing. A couple residents lost a couple trees, but
Yeah.
when you see the trees, you can see where they were rotted in the center
Sure.
or stuff like that, so, knock on wood, like I said, we've been lucky with our utilities not, getting knocked out like some communities.
Right.
But, the rain definitely came.
Yeah.
But other than that, I guess that's about it.
Sirens are over.
Yep.
Do they all work? 'Cause I thought I heard somebody say they thought one wasn't working, but they're all working?
No, they should've.
They should've all been good?
The last time I had reset the breaker up on Hickey Hill,
Yeah.
cause that typically, especially in the winter time, a little slush gets in there and kick out easy, but,
I know on Saturday, the 2 that I can hear, I heard them both
yeah.
from my house.
Okay.
And I know that day they worked after I checked it because I had pushed the wrong button.
Oh.
And it went off for a while until I could walk down the hill to get it turned off.
All right, next we have library noise complaint regarding the air conditioning.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you said they Scott put the insulators in and it really didn't help much, huh?
Yeah, well, the spring, the vibration spring reduction things. So, it was just a first touch point, and
Yeah.
since everything's working properly and nothing's vibrating, it makes sense that it didn't fix
Yeah.
the noise. The noise is coming from
the
the
hollow
compressors
motor.
and the fans.
Sure.
So in the handout I gave you, since this meeting, our J&H Controls, the people we contract with, I asked him to force the AC unit to go full bore. If you recall, Mr. Durkee looked at the decibel readings that we took in May and suspected that maybe they weren't running full capacity.
Sure.
So I just printed that out because he does say in his remarks 2 compressors and 3 condenser fans were running, which is full capacity. So then Scott Carpenter helped me out, and the day that they were running full capacity, we took readings again. So that's on the back side that says June 2nd and so if you compare that to the May 24th readings, they're pretty identical. But the number in question is down here. This is where our neighbor, where the decibels would be what they're experiencing. They're not sitting right next to the machine and they're not on the property line. So I did a little research since our current noise ordinance doesn't have any numbers allotted to it. And at 59 decibels, a lot of ordinances that do have numbers put 55 to 60 as that nuisance level. They said it's comparable to a vacuum cleaner running. So when I think about sitting next to a vacuum cleaner running and trying to have a conversation, I get that, that's annoying. So, I don't know what this committee can do other than, I have collected 2 next step options. Scott, and that's in your packet too, Scott Carpenter did some digging, and that's on the way back, on what it would cost to maybe do a 1-panel temporary fence. Because your standard fence in Menards is only 6 feet tall, and this unit is 8 foot tall, and you would need, of course, that to go down in the ground. He's estimating 10 feet tall posts and panels, and then some styrofoam. And so this is something that, will it work? You know, there's a big question mark on it, and you can see the dollar amount there for estimation, and that's without labor. Then J&H has, from the get-go, they suggested 2 compressor covers, and that's here. They said they're $275 a piece for a total of $550, and then I copied his email that said we would install them under our contract. So there would be no labor fee there. I know this committee doesn't talk dollars, but you know, I guess I'm wondering what the committee wants to do now. Is this something that you do deem that we continue to look for a solution outside of what we've tried? Do you, as public safety, consider this a nuisance that we should address, I guess is why it was brought to this committee?
I don't know, I think it'd be worth trying the covers out.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a problem. I mean, the neighbors there, I mean, it's loud for him, and I think we should try to do something for him, so.
And I think the covers make a lot more sense than putting all that work into a fence.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think a fence is probably gonna be
You think
better,
that would be
because
better?
if you put the covers over the top of them, the noise is still gonna be there. It's just
To
gonna,
muffle it.
yeah, it's just gonna go somewhere else. If you put a fence there, I really think that would direct the noise up.
What kind of result have they had with these covers? They give you any guidance on that? What do they
Other
typically
than
cut
him
down?
verbally telling me, he said, I think that is going to be, because the 2 options he was saying was springs, vibration springs, your cheaper option to try, or that.
Has he done these covers before?
Has
he done these covers before?
He has.
Yeah.
He has.
And what does it typically cut down? How much does it reduce the output?
He did not say a percentage, other than he said, I think you would experience significant reduction in noise. So when I look at the decibels in the here, that they're running around 58, and then in my research that 55 to 60 is considering nuisance.
Yeah.
Like, even if we reduce this 10 to 20 decibels, we've at least reduced it out of that annoyance range. But would the fence do that? It may do it too. You know, I can, as for me, I know you're not the people with the purse strings. Both of these options are around that $400 to $500 range. Yeah, so that's where I'm like, where do I go now? Because the question mark is, if you, public safety, say, yes, address this, we feel it's a nuisance, you know, a viable nuisance, then where do I go from there? Is this finance committee? You know, Mr. Durgee brought this up clear back in April to Common Council, so now my AC is running, and running a lot.
Yeah.
So now I'm just kind of like, man, if we keep pushing it for committee, you know, the solution, well, you know, like you were talking about the poultry thing, it took 1.5 years to get to like, what are we gonna do? So
Sure.
I want to honor him in bringing it to us clear back before the AC was running.
Did you ask if these covers reduce any efficiency? Because naturally you're gonna be trapping heat, I'm thinking, and they're gonna work harder.
Well, his comment actually was the barrier, now that was when I was thinking enclosure.
Right.
Sure.
That you needed ventilation and 3 feet on each side, and one of the sides would need access to the panel if they needed to service it. So 4 sides and a gate and 10 feet was like, whoa, that's going to be a cost. So what was your original question? Did I ask him about
Do
heat?
these covers reduce the efficiency of the air conditioner?
That I have not asked.
That, I think, is a big question right there. If we're gonna purchase $500 plus of covers, and your air conditioner's gonna be running a lot more because it can't cool, because airflow is everything. So I don't know how covers really baffle the noise and not affect the efficiency of your unit.
So I guess to try and keep this going so that we can address this during the heat of summer, if they come back to me and say, yes, it does reduce efficiency, would your recommendation then be go with the fence? Or if it doesn't reduce efficiency, go with covers?
As you said, for this fence, there was labor included here, right?
Right, this would be more than
That's just the
likely,
part.
This
This is just the
DPW.
Yeah.
Around $1,000 of labor tied up.
Yeah, I mean, you got
Yeah.
concrete posts in and stuff, and.
And the underground labor's included.
And you know,
Couldn't you just get a
Correct.
couple sheets of foam and temporary something to see
That's-
if it would work?
That was my suggestion to
Yeah.
Jeanette by way of email. I says, I temporary wall. I wasn't kidding when I was saying about a couple mattresses. Just setting up a couple mattresses on.
you know, as your library director, that's a lot of what's going on. And you know,
Why don't you get a food truck in?
okay, I've heard
Park it
this
in
is
front,
the
park it in
solution.
front of there for a day and see if the noise is not.
You could park my van right there, and I bet you take those checks, because I'm with Dick. Even if you just have a barricade, I mean, it worked over at Cincy and just planting arborvitaes, you know, and how much it reduced. I couldn't believe how much it reduced the noise. But just setting something up temporary and then taking that check again.
So there's still an expense with foam or mattresses or taco trucks. So, I mean, that's, if you think that's the best thing, to just go slap up some styrofoam and lean it on a couple posts and see.
Or park a vehicle and then just put a piece of plywood to block off the bottom of the wheels.
Kurt, bring your
And,
fire
and
truck.
park it just as a barricade, and
You don't need to have a fire
then do
truck
your
sitting there
tests
for
over on the
that.
neighbor's parking, our neighbor's lot line.
Just long enough to get a reading.
Cause you're down pretty low with these decibels. I was always under the impression it was 65 to 70 before you had to take that
Well,
action.
so I did, I asked him, I was like, how are you getting 90? And, but that was right by, it wasn't even by the, fans up on top, it was down the motor.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, cause I was like, I don't know how we're getting such a discrepancy on what your reading is and ours. So then on the day, we have been in communication just neighborly. And one day he was out there and his readings were very similar to these from his patio. So let's say a truck and a panel do reduce this. You know, unless you let me use your van
We could do
forever.
No.
You know, like, so then what's the next step? Because like, I don't wanna have to keep bringing it to you. I'm just wondering what's next. Because let's say it works.
I would say if you saw that it worked, that would be the way to go, rather than put the covers over the compressors. I agree with Dan that, you know, you might be messing with efficiency and how the
Something
short-lived
you gotta
unit.
take off and service it, I
That's
mean,
kind of old anyways, isn't it?
So
Is that
then,
gonna
is
affect the
this,
thermal
is
protection
this
on the compressors too, if you cover it up?
Mhm.
I mean, the fence, or
But why
you
would they
plant some
do
trees
that?
or arborvitae's or something.
that's where I'm like, if the guy, the expert of the machine says do this,
That's what I'm.
that's
confused
why
about.
I'm like leaning that way, but
What
I'm
you're saying
not,
is making sense,
Mhm.
but if the guy that's in charge of installing these units says, try this, I'm not against putting a truck there doing the fence or any of that, but it just confuses me that if the guys that this is what their profession is, says
Yeah,
try a cover.
I agree with that, but there's questions he hasn't answered that I just asked tonight. Does it
Yeah.
reduce the efficiency of the unit? And it might short-live the compressor too, you know? and-
How old are these air compressors, or your air?
yeah, it was built in 97 in their
Original
original,
size.
yeah,
So,
so.
how soon do you think till they have to be replaced?
He thinks it's still running, I mean,
I mean, how efficiently are they even running now?
he said, based on that they're as efficient as they were when they were purchased.
And that's surprising.
Yeah, so I mean, when you think of a 1997
Yeah.
versus a 2022,
Right.
your efficiency, you're comparing apples to oranges there, but.
I would say, Jane, you know, his first suggestion didn't work out with the,
The isolation springs.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, go
So, you
ahead.
know, he's looking at, as a perspective from his business end.
To try to sell
what
his
he- what he-
product.
Well, not, maybe that, but what he deals with, you know, he doesn't, he's not thinking fence.
So the,
Well, go ahead and try that.
I'm wondering, the finance committee meets, if they meet, on July 5th. That's the next, so is this something that, you know, I'm like, this is great, but let's say I park a van and it does significantly reduce it. So then it's like, well, you know, this fencing should probably be what we move on to. Is this something you would, with your recommendations, then have me take to finance
Send
to
finance
say,
committee.
you know, here's the estimation of what it would cost? And is this what you're thinking? Are you, because this is one camp, this is one side.
I would maybe get an estimate then too for labor.
Mm.
If we go this route to present to finance, I think it'd be best to have the labor and the materials all together, so that they know what they're looking at.
Jeanette, if you can have Scott bring a sheet of plywood down to the library and bring his meter, I would gladly come down with my van, we'll park
Okay.
it as close
And I
as we
will
can
take
to the
pictures
condensing
so
unit.
you all can see
Block,
this.
turn the 4x sheet of plywood sideways next to my truck to block the noise underneath the
Underneath,
truck,
yeah.
and then we'll take a reading. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how much that's gonna reduce the
You think
sound
a
level at
mattress,
his parking. So.
Bulky
I think
pickup
it's,
day.
that'd be a good experiment, for sure, worthwhile.
So, yeah, so in summary, that's what we'll do. I'll talk to Scott, we'll try to figure
Yeah.
that out.
This is outside the realm of this committee here.
Well, quite frankly, I was a little curious why it's in this committee in the first place,
And
other
John-
than,
And John and
Yeah.
Richard are both on finance,
Uh-huh.
so you got two mouthpieces
so
that are
you,
gonna be
I
on
can just
board.
walk in and go, here's the same
Yep.
packet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
But
I guess,
I appreciate your
yeah, work with Dan, if you need some help, let me know, I'll come down and help too, so.
Bring a couch.
It's gonna take 5 minutes to test it.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Scott tomorrow and we'll get a plan.
Yep,
in
get
place.
something together and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Appreciate your time, thank you
All right,
very
yep.
much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Next, we have traffic lanes at East Center and North Main. Did this get forward to,
Well, the mayor sent me an email stating that he talked to Jason Lau, who apparently has a program that measures turning radius, and he was gonna take a look at that first,
okay,
you know, cause again, if you start drawing up plans, before you know if it's even gonna work, that's gonna cost us money, and I'm thinking Jason probably said this will only take a couple seconds to look at. I don't know if there's a cost associated with that. That was between.
I don't know, I bothered Jason the other night after our information meeting for the East Oak Street project, and first we went out to the industrial park, looked at a water issue out on there, and then we finished out. It was almost dark by the time we got done up there on Center Street, but he kinda had the same feeling that I had, that the turning, those right angle turns on those streets aren't a swooping turn, they're a right angle. I mean, they're a city street with a tight corner, and he wasn't sure that robbing Peter to pay Paul was gonna pay off. Dave's idea was to, and I didn't understand this at first until after I talked to Jason, to do away with the right turn lane and make a combination straight and right turn lane, and then divvy up that space with the other turning lane that goes to the left. If you're going up Center Street, the lane on the left would be the right turn, left turn, or straight, and the incoming from the north, turning onto Center Street, would be widened. And I don't know. I don't know what we were accomplishing, to tell you the truth. And Jason wasn't sure neither, but he said he did have some kind of program. But he says, my gut feeling is these turns are too tight. There's not a swooping curve. It's, just that tight right angle. So.
Yeah, I happened to be up there to get a sandwich, and I watched the semi turn from Center Street and go north on 26, and he was way over in the other lane on 26. There's just, yeah, and I believe that he started, not right next to the curb on Center. He was in the middle starting out, so it's.
Yeah, he was actually in the straight lane,
Yeah.
straight or the left turn lane instead of the right lane.
And then you hope no goofball tries to run up alongside him
And make a right turn.
and make a right-hand turn,
Yep.
because
You get the sandwich effect.
when they do that, they get split in two.
Yeah, there's no way they'll make it, they stay in the
Right.
right side there.
Yeah, I don't know how much we want to, well, there's nothing to be spent on it. It would come out of Dave's budget, and there's nothing allotted for
Not
that.
out of my budget.
And so. But anyway, he was gonna look at it and get back to us, so I guess that's where we're at right now.
Okay, I guess just see what he says and come back.
His gut feeling that he commended Dave for his efforts and the time that he spent on it, but he didn't really think that there was anything that was gonna change things much. You might be improved going one direction, but then have an issue coming the other direction,
Sure.
so.
You're seeing a lot of room.
Now, he emphasized, Kurt, about getting together with you. Is this something that you started the conversation with?
No.
I said to Jason, I said, I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-mm.
Well, he keeps telling me he's gotta get together with the fire chief, gotta get the fire. I wonder if he didn't mean the police chief.
Yeah.
And he misunderstood. Or
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about it.
Because, I mean, there is a case where we would be turning a ladder truck onto that street, but rarely.
Rarely.
Rarely, and whatever.
Mhm.
So it isn't an ongoing issue or anything like that. So.
We've got some other lights, flashing too. We can take the whole road if we need it. Yeah, no.
Okay, I guess we'll wait for more information on that. Next, we have nuisance ordinance enforcement of 328 and 330 South Fairfield.
So since council meeting, when it was discussed and direction was given to the attorney, I reached out to the attorney with the information that he needed to draft a letter and send it. I gave him a little background. Hopefully he gets that letter drafted soon. If not, I'll be reaching out to him again. I like to just send him an email, because if you call him in your billable minutes, hopefully. So,
You haven't got the letter yet?
I have not received the letter back from the attorney to serve on her, but
Okay.
we'll keep plugging away. But you may want to consider on these three items, A, B, and C, as to whether or not you want them on the agenda again, or just under, when I do my police monthly report, we can
Discuss it.
update, because
Yeah.
it's more or less an update anyway, because it's not actionable item.
Sure. Because you said she is living in Beaver Dam in a motel or something, so.
Staying in the same hotel when she has been since the fire.
Did she almost get back to you at all, or? Okay.
No, and I haven't tried knocking and talking to her since, because I figured don't pay if I'm gonna turn around and end up telling her something, and then the letter that the attorney drafted says
Sure.
something different, so.
Okay.
I'll make personal service once I get that letter though.
Is there an ordinance enforcement that we can even use for this?
Well, yes and no. Property maintenance is gonna really cover it because the place is in disrepair. I mean, do we have an ordinance specific to fires? No, but properties in disrepair. So, that regard, but even minus any type of ordinance, just the fact that you have a property that's uninhabitable and then it'd be condemned, you'd have to go through the condemnation process and we'd end up going that route. And, you know.
So, excuse my ignorance, but what does that mean if something's condemned? What happens then?
We would have the authority of the courts to have it torn down. And then we would, in return, bill it back to her property.
And how long does that process take in the
Well,
courts?
A couple months probably, you know,
That's
but,
all?
well, I mean, the attorney has to get us to that point though,
Yeah.
you know.
You tie up 6 months before any action would be taken.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a process that needs to be followed, but it's gonna take money and time on behalf of the city, but it seems that this person isn't acting on its own and.
Right.
And if you do condemn it, that means it's no longer hers then? It's the city's property, or?
Well, no, it's still hers.
Still hers.
You know, and like I said, the nice part is the insurance company does have that $7,200 that they're holding yet for the tear down, clean up. But when you heard the other guy speaking about 15,000 per half, we'd be on the hook for half of it until that property would be sold then. It could be turned back over to through not paying taxes, you know. The city could end up with it that way down the road.
Well, the county would wind up with it then, but.
Yeah, well,
Then they want to give it back to the city and.
Yeah, the sad situation with this, I feel for the people that weren't responsible for this incident. They're sitting there with an investment there, and if you don't have a cooperative effort with the zero lot line neighbor, where's he go? He
Yeah.
can't build
Yeah.
half of it.
and they can't
You know,
tear
either-
down half of it either. so.
What should probably do is approach her and offer to buy her half. And then he can rebuild it as he sees fit, whether he wants to put up another duplex or another single-family home. I mean, make a nice single-family home as well, so.
Yeah, right.
And was it covenants or something that you directed him to look for too?
Yep, and
Which is also in our ordinance?
well, it refers to these covenants.
It,
And-
it makes reference to it. I went up to Register of Deeds and researched that property. And the only thing in there's nothing about the covenants that talks about that. It wasn't an attached document. There's in there about when the city must have owned that property and then leased it to somebody. There's like a lease type agreement in there that goes back to John Favish, Andy Christensen time frame. But there was nothing in that document that, but you know, even if we had that document in front of us, if the person doesn't respond to it.
Well, like you said, maybe the best thing if he would maybe talk to her and see to buy her out, and then at
Yeah.
least he could move on. Cause it seems like he wants to.
Well, first we get the letter from the attorney and start there and get it served on her to hopefully promote some sort of action or at least conversation with her.
Get something going, yeah.
It's kind of a surprise that the insurance company actually withheld money. A lot of times they'll cut the check, wipe their hands of it, oh no, she's been paid out in full, you know, you're dealing with her, so it's
Yeah.
kinda shocking that they're even able to do that, you know,
Yeah.
hold back that.
That must be how that policy's wrote or something,
I'm
but
surprised they
when
cover anything
when I
already.
talked to them that time too, they said that if the city was to be involved, they would cut the check directly to the city then. So we'd be guaranteed at least that much back, right up front. But who knows, maybe once we show her the documents from the attorney and say this is what's gonna happen, if you don't do this and this is what your costs are gonna be,
It might be an incentive that she's
Yeah.
gonna lose that.
To get rid of it
back.
on her. Yeah.
yeah. We'll keep working on it.
All right, keep us informed, Dave, thank you. Anything else? Review?
I guess one thing I do wanna point out, and I should have brought it up during, the acceptance of the minutes of the previous meeting, our recording secretary from last month on that issue, this property's been sitting there since November of 2021. It's been sitting there from August of 2021,
Right.
so that change should probably be made in the minutes. I guess if you wanna make a motion to amend the approval of the minutes to include that change, that would be.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the approval of the previous minutes from last month for the date change.
I believe it was the 17th. August
August.
17th or 17th?
August 17th,
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amended motion carries. Do you have any new business? Well, we'll set time and date for next meeting, July 21st, 2022 at 6:30 if needed. We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Schuster, second by Stu adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.